From the heart of the space city to the heart of Gen Z, welcome to Next Gen Conversation. Not Dad's Talk Radio. Ethan talks to you about the issues and events that matter to our generation. This is the Next Gen Report with Ethan Buchanan.
Hey, good evening, Texas. I have to get into the habit of saying good evening, Texas, instead of good evening, Houston, because I'm now on the air in San Antonio and Dallas. If you're listening in San Antonio or Dallas right now, welcome to the Next Gen Report. I am Ethan Buchanan, a lifelong Texan and resident of H-Town, your bouncing baby brother city. That's what I think Houston is, the kind of younger brother city almost. I know we're technically older than the city of Dallas, but something about Houston just feels a little bit more young and vibrant than Dallas. I don't know why that is, but that's how I feel. And of course, San Antonio is one of the oldest cities in the state of Texas. I think right behind Galveston. I think technically Galveston is the oldest, if not some of those kind of smaller settlements over in East Texas. I don't know. It gets really weird because then you have to start asking yourself, how are we judging the oldest city? Are we talking about the oldest proper city or the oldest Spanish colony or kind of the oldest random settlements? It gets very dicey just because of how old the state of Texas is, how old this land is, how many different people have been here. That's one of my favorite things about the state is, you know, the Six Flags of Texas. That's cool to me. All the different, you know, cultures that have kind of melded together here and all settled different parts of the state in different ways. Anyway, before I get off on a tangent, I want to real quick give a shout out to our sponsor, Deus Volt lapel pins. If you haven't gotten a Deus Volt lapel pin, what are you doing? These things look awesome. They're high quality. They're not expensive. Go get 2 or 3 of them. Pick some of your favorites off the website. They have Texas heritage, Christian heritage, American heritage, whatever you're looking for, whatever you want to represent in just a nice little conversation starting fashion piece. Deus Volt lapel pins is the way to go. But also, I want to talk about something real quick that I haven't really promoted a whole lot. They do custom orders. So if you have like a church or school or a business, or even maybe it's a family reunion or whatever, and you want to buy some bulk special design lapel pins, they can do that for you. Go to DeusVoltLapelPins.com, talk to them about what you want, what you're doing, what it's for, and see what they can do for you. And while you're at it, get a couple of their standard designs as well. Again, I love these guys. It's a great Texas-based Christian business. It's definitely deserving of your support, so go check them out. All right, what do we have to talk about today? I think let's start off with Iran. Again, the panicans have been panicking about this, and I understand. Listen, I know the gas prices have gotten higher. I know they've shot up. I know it's real expensive. It will go down. I guarantee you it'll be probably lower than where it was at the start of the year by the end of the year. I know that's not cool to say. I know everybody wants to panic, and by no means am I trying to, you know, deny the struggles of those that are having a hard time buying gas because it's gotten expensive. Listen, I understand not everybody has the money to sort of weather this, but I want you to know that like all things, this too will pass and it will be better in the future. So just stick it out with me. I know it's hard. I'm not by any means immune to this either. I've been paying more for my gas too, and it hurts. All right, it hurts. But there are things you can do to mitigate. There are apps out there that'll give you cash back for buying gas at certain places. There are credit cards that you can get that will help you save money by giving you cash back on gas and things like that. So, you know, be practical, shop around. Let's power through this, and I promise you things will get better on the other end. In the meantime, it looks like this war is already almost over, which is great. Trump tweeted this out on, I believe, Friday. He said, "We are getting very close to meeting our objectives as we consider winding down our great military efforts in the Middle East with respect to the terrorist regime of Iran. 1, completely degrading the Iranian missile capability, launchers, and everything else pertaining to them. 2, destroying Iran's defense industrial base. That's basically all their manufacturing. 3, eliminating their Navy and Air Force, including anti-aircraft weaponry. 4, never allowing Iran to get even close to a nuclear capability, and always being in a position where the USA can quickly and powerfully react to a situation should it take place. 5, protecting at the highest level our Middle Eastern allies, including Israel, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Kuwait, and others. The Hormuz Strait will have to be guarded and policed as necessary by other nations who use it. The United States does not. If asked, we will help those countries in their Hormuz efforts, but it shouldn't be necessary once Iran's threat is eradicated. So basically what he's saying here is we don't want to be there forever, which I know is the concern of a lot of Republicans. And again, I'm concerned about that too. I don't want the United States military to be in the sandbox for another 20 years. I don't. But I think, for at least where I sit, President Trump has earned the benefit of the doubt. So if he's got solutions to global problems like Iran starting problems, I have no problem with us taking action there. It's very clear that he wants to just wipe Iran off the map and then leave it to the people in the area, which I think is fine. We have good relations with the people in the area. Powerful nations, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Israel, all of these countries that are there, that operate there, that live there, that can take that over, that can run that show, and we're close with them. We have good relations with them. We're friendly. We do business with each other. Our interests are aligned, so we can leave it to them and we don't have to worry about it. We don't have to have our people there for 20 to 30 years doing their jobs for them, all right? I see no downside to that, frankly. Another big plus is, and this is primarily for the liberals that are still upset about this, I want to show you this image. U.S. Central Command posted this. The Esfahan Khamenei, I don't know how to pronounce this word. Khamenei, there's too many consonants. Gosh. Their whatever drone production plant produced in Shahid one-way attack drones that have been used by the Iranian regime to attack targets across the region. And you can see the before and after picture here. We have flattened this drone manufacturing facility. Now, this is not just good for the Middle East. This is also good for Ukraine. All right? How many liberals have been out there complaining about the war in Ukraine and Russia for forever? One of the biggest things that's keeping that war going is Russia's ability to buy a bunch of drones from Iran and use those in that war for cheap. That's one of their chief assets. We just took that away. All right? So if you want peace in Russia and Ukraine, this is a good way to get it. All right, we got a lot more coming up here on the Next Gen Report. We'll be here till 8 o'clock. Thank you very much for listening. We'll be right back. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Next Gen Report. Real quick, I want to encourage you to follow me on X @_ Ethan Buchanan, Buchanan. Real easy to remember. If you're driving right now, keep that in the back of your head. When you get where you're going, give me a quick follow on X. That's the best place to find all of my content. Every episode of the show is there. You can watch it. You can watch the video. We're recording the video live, so you can look at some of the visual elements that we're playing right now that you're just listening to. You can find our sponsor, Deus Vault lapel pins there. That's where you can also find the promo code NEXTPIN2026 to get 10% off your order from Deus Vault lapel pins. So that's the one-stop shop. Everything you want that's me related, if you want that, if you want more of my content, that's where you get it. All right, let's talk about this DHS shutdown. Thankfully, this hasn't really affected me, and here's why. I don't fly. I don't ever fly. I have never flown. I will never fly if I can help it. Lord willing and the creek don't rise, you will never catch me on a plane. And there's no particular reason for that other than I don't quite trust them. I know it's probably irrational. I know mathematically speaking, they're safer than flying. But here's my logic behind not ever getting on a plane. If I get in a plane crash, I have a 100% chance or darn nearabouts of dying. My chances of walking away from a plane crash are essentially zero. Now, if I am in a car crash, which is more likely than a plane crash, I am more likely to survive it. Right? You see what I'm saying here? I'm more likely to get in a car crash than I am in a plane crash, but I'm more likely to walk away from the car crash than I am from the plane crash. So that's why I never get on a plane. I don't fly. It doesn't interest me. I have never seen anyone talk about the experience of flying as if it was positive. The best review from flyers of the flying experience I've ever seen is from toddlers who don't care about leg space and just want to look out the window and see the clouds. And that's fine, but I'm a grown adult. I need leg space. And from what I hear, everything about the experience, from being cramped into those tiny seats to dealing with the airport and TSA and la-di-da-di-da, it all just seems like a miserable experience. And frankly, I'd rather just drive wherever I'm going. All right? If I can't get there by driving, I probably don't need to be there that bad. That's just how I feel about the situation. That's where I stand on it. Now, for those of you that do fly, that maybe don't have the luxury of not flying, because that is a luxury. I don't have to fly for my job. I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to travel anywhere. All of my family pretty much lives in the area, so I don't have to worry about, flying around to go visit people. That being said, some people do not have that luxury, and they're getting screwed right now by this DHS shutdown. I'll show you an example of this. Here in Houston. I believe this is Bush Intercontinental Airport, but it might be the Hobby Airport. This is the line just to go through security. And that's not even to deal with the actual airline desk. Because it's my understanding, and if I am wrong here, somebody correct me, reach out to me on X and let me know. Because again, I've never done this. But it's my understanding that you have to first go through security, and then once you go through security, then you have to go and check in with the airline or whatever, and I know that's a hassle. But take a listen to, and if you're watching, you can see it, but take a listen to this lady describing the line at Bush Intercontinental Airport just to go through TSA.
This is all the TSA line. The line where you get your ID and boarding pass checked is all the way up there. It comes around here, all the way around, all the way around, all the way around. It snakes through here, but then you have to take the escalator over there down to the baggage claim downstairs, and that's how you end up down here. Right now, according to that board, it says that the wait is 150 minutes. Not sure if that's accurate.
And to give you an idea, if you're just listening, she's not showing you a small room, all right? Imagine a mall. Think of a shopping mall, whatever your favorite go-to shopping mall is. If you're in the Houston area, it's probably the Galleria or the Woodlands Mall. If you're in Dallas or San Antonio, I don't know, think the Riverwalk Mall in San Antonio. If you're in Dallas, I don't know what malls y'all have. I don't spend a lot of time in that city. But think of a mall. Think of any mall. And now imagine the entire mall, all of it, full of people waiting in line. That's what she just showed us here in that video. This is insane. And the whole reason for this is the Democrats are not funding the Department of Homeland Security, which operates the TSA, which means the TSA agents aren't getting paid. Why are they doing this? Their stated reason is, we don't want to fund DHS without ICE reforms. So we're going to hold this over their head and make them reform ICE or Border Patrol or what have you. Now, here's why that's a stupid excuse. ICE is already funded. The big, beautiful bill gave ICE special additional funding for 2 years. So all this time, they're saying we don't want to fund ICE without more restrictions being put on ICE. But ICE is still funded and still going about their day-to-day jobs right now as we speak. So what is the point of all this? Why are we doing this? You're just blocking it to block it. It's political theater. They need something to run on. Again, we're going into the midterms. They don't have any popular policy. Their whole bit is just oppose Trump. They're opposing the SAVE Act, which is immensely popular across the United States. They're opposing funding DHS for some reason because they're idiots. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. Now, this may end up biting them in the butt. What they might end up getting here is more ICE officers in more places, which I think is kind of funny because TSA isn't showing up to work. They're not being funded, so they're just calling out sick or quitting because these people have lives. They need money coming in. So Trump's solution to this is, well, hey, ICE is still funded. We'll just have ICE do it. I'm not kidding. That was his idea. Check this out. He tweeted this out. If the radical Democrats don't immediately sign an agreement to let our country, in particular, our airports be free and safe again, I will move our brilliant and patriotic ICE agents to the airports where they will do security like no one has ever seen before, including the immediate arrest of all illegal immigrants who have come into our country, with heavy emphasis on those from Somalia who have totally destroyed, with the approval of a corrupt governor, attorney general, and Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, the once great state of Minnesota. I look forward to seeing ICE in action at our airports. Make America great again, President Donald Trump. So, let's follow the timeline here. ICE does stuff the Democrats don't want. Democrats shut down the Department of DHS, but not ICE because of that. Now ICE is going to be just napping up illegal aliens in the airports. I think this is a great idea. I support this 100%. Replace the TSA with ICE. Give me citizenship checks at every airport. If you're not in the country legally and you're trying to fly domestically, we're going to grab you and you're going to get deported. I love this. I think this is a great idea. Now, in the meantime, we do have Elon Musk actually going out and saying, hey, who do I need to talk to? I'm willing to pay these ICE officers out of my own money. He tweeted that out. He said, I would like to offer to pay the salaries of TSA personnel during this funding impasse that is negatively affecting the lives of so many Americans at airports throughout the country. Again, Democrats love to blast billionaires and say, oh, they just hoard all their money and use it for themselves and never help anybody else, which, by the way, is their prerogative. They earn that money themselves. I know that's unpopular to say, but here's a prime example of Elon Musk, who they love to hate, saying, hey, I've got all this money. I will give it to these people in an act of public service. I don't know how the Democrats are going to handle that. At least one Democrat is being reasonable about it, John Fetterman. He said, this is incredibly generous. TSA agents across the country are relying on food pantries and community donations just to get by. I remain the lone Democrat vote with my Republican colleagues to fully fund DHS and get people paid. It should never have come to this point. John Fetterman, I don't know what happened to this guy, because remember back in 2022 when he was first running, he got lambasted because he was campaigning as somewhat of a radical Democrat, and then he had a stroke and was functionally brain dead for a while, but was still campaigning and wouldn't drop out. He's turned out to be one of my favorite senators. I mean, I'll trade him for Rand Paul at this point. I love John Fetterman. We'll be right back with more of the Next Gen Report in just a minute. Welcome back. Once again, the X page is @_Ethan Buchanan. If you're hearing the show for the first time tonight and you enjoy it, you like it, you want to hear more, you want to hear the show that we do on Wednesdays, that's where you go to do that. @_Ethan Buchanan, BUCHANAN. You can find all of the show episodes there. You can find all of the links to all of the podcasts and the YouTube pages and the sponsors and everything. It's all right there on my X page. So go check that out. Now, we're talking about the airports. I want to play you this other news clip. I believe this is from ABC. I'm not sure, but take a listen to this TV report, because I think it's very telling of how people actually feel about this shutdown right now.
Scores of TSA workers have been calling out sick due to missed paychecks, and that has slowed things down. This is what it looked like at LaGuardia earlier this morning. This is the pre-check line. This is supposed to be the easy security screening, snaking around Terminal B. And it's not just here. You can look at airports across the country, because if you go somewhere, you got to get back. You got to get through the security line in Atlanta or Fort Lauderdale or Raleigh or Los Angeles. Flyers around the country have been dealing with wait times of up to 2 hours at some airports.
What we saw at Terminal B on the regular TSA line was similar to what we saw in the beginning of the week, maybe a little bit longer, wrapping around the entirety of the terminal and stretching back into Terminal C. What was different this morning was that the TSA pre-check line, like you mentioned, that's where, frequent travelers commonly pay a little bit more for that extra security clearance, so they don't have to wait on what is the line that they had to wait on this morning. Stretching back almost to the parking garage. A lot of them just in disbelief when they were walking and had to keep walking to get to the back of that line before they realized, that this was going to be the wait, about a half-hour wait on TSA pre-check. And a lot of the travelers saying that that was the longest that they've ever had to wait on a pre-check line.
Unreal. Yeah, it's the longest one I've been in. I travel every week.
It's more so just the parties fighting for no reason and inconvenience us. They don't care because they're getting paid, and again, where they got to go with their private jets. No, we can't get where we got to go.
It's that last guy that they talked to that I really want you to hone in on. They don't care because they've got their private jets. They go where they need to go, and they're still getting paid. And I think to a certain extent, he's right. Now, does every member of Congress and even every senator have a private jet that they've got access to? No, probably not. But I'm sure most of them have ways to get around. I'm sure of that. I'm positive this isn't really affecting them that much. I guarantee it. And they are all getting paid. He's right. Not a single member of Congress or the Senate has missed a paycheck, has struggled to get by during this government shutdown or the other one. And I think that's really the messaging that the GOP needs to be pushing. We have got to make them own this. If we're conservatives, if we're Republicans, this is our campaign strategy. Explain to people like this voter, here's why they're doing it. They're doing it to protect illegal aliens, people that aren't citizens, people that don't even belong in this country. Not only is that their stated goal, they're not even achieving that because, like I pointed out in the last segment, ICE is still funded. They've still got plenty of money. They got money to spare. They've got so much money that they might end up doing airport security, like we talked about in the last segment. So the Democrats, because this is the Democrats, and that's another point that the GOP needs to work on our messaging. The Democrats are doing this to protect illegal aliens. They're not even protecting illegal aliens, and it is them doing it. I know the GOP technically holds a 1 or 2 vote majority. They still need the Democrats to pass legislation. That's the system. Now, we can talk about the merits of abolishing the filibuster, whether or not we need to do that. And I think every day the government shutdown goes on, it becomes more and more obvious that, yeah, we probably do. We probably just need to nut up, abolish the filibuster, and start ramming through our legislation. Because I don't see another way to get anything done ever. And there are some things that need to be done. I'm a big believer in the federal government doing nothing. But at some point, we've either got to say we're going to fund DHS and TSA, or we need to abolish TSA and privatize that and let the airports and the airlines handle their own security. And again, that would have to be done by Congress either way. So either way, we're probably going to have to abolish the filibuster to get something done, or find a bunch of really reasonable Democrats. Now, we can do that, but that's not going to happen till November. We can either oust a bunch of these Democrats so we have a filibuster-proof 60-vote supermajority, but if we do that, we're going to have to double down on our messaging, and we're going to have to be ready to bite the leather strap for at least till November, really, because there's no other solution. There really isn't. The Democrats can and will continue to block this. We have to just get rid of them or sidestep them. So if we can wait till November, if we can power through this till then let's do that. But if we can't, if this becomes a bigger problem, and I guarantee you it will over the next coming months, I remind you, we haven't even entered the summer travel season. If it's bad now, just wait to see once school gets out, how bad it gets. It's going to be a disaster. So anyway, moving on from that, let's actually talk about voting. Let's talk about elections. We do have the midterms coming up in November. We are still kind of fighting over the SAVE Act. That's a big deal. The Democrats will insist that the SAVE Act isn't necessary because you already have to be a citizen to vote, which is true. And this isn't a real problem. This never happens. Turns out it actually is a real problem, and it is happening. Here's the article from the New York Post. Illegal immigrants from Africa, India, and China are voting in U.S. elections. Here's how they're doing it. Mauritanian, I don't know what that is. Mauritanian, I've never even heard of that nation before. Illegal immigrant marked for deportation since 2002 has continued to live in the United States and is a registered Democrat who has voted in every election since 2008, authorities claim. Mahadi Sacco, 50, who goes by the nickname Sacco Scorpion, that's weird, was busted last week in Philadelphia for allegedly falsely claiming citizenship to cast a 2024 ballot. He was picked up in a joint operation between Immigration and Customs Enforcement and the FBI, which charged he falsely represented that he was a U.S. citizen in order to vote and register to vote in the last presidential election, according to a press release. So, couple of things here. One, marked for deportation since 2002. He has been in the country illegally, and we knew it, for more than 20 years, and we haven't deported him. Again, that's 2002. A year before I was born, the federal government gave him a final order of deportation, and he just stayed here anyway and voted in every election since 2008. Now, you might say, okay, well, there's tens of millions of voters, so in a federal election, that really doesn't matter. And you know what? You're probably right. But if he's voting in federal elections, he's probably voting in local elections too. And those matter a whole lot more when you get down to those singular voters. I'll prove it to you. We've got an election going on right now here in the city of Houston. In the city council district that I live in, District C, because I'm in the Montrose area, we have a special election right now for our city council member. So far, about 1,600 people have voted in that election. Now, in the city of Houston's District C, there are roughly 200,000 to maybe about 245,000 eligible voters. That means everybody needs to show up and vote more, all right? Unless you're radical left, then you can go ahead and stay home. I don't care. But if you're by any chance listening to me from District C, go vote. All right? It's not that hard. It doesn't take that long. It's real easy to do it. All right? Just go vote. Just do it. For the love of God. Do some research on the candidates. Figure out who's endorsed by people you trust, by organizations you trust, and then go vote. But also, 1,600 people have voted. And there's, I think, 5 or 6 different candidates running in that race. All right? So one vote makes a hell of a lot of difference. Now, what kind of candidates do you think Sacco Scorpion, as he's been affectionately nicknamed, what kind of candidates do you think he's going to vote for? He's an illegal alien with a final order of deportation from 20 years ago that has been voting in every election since 2008. I'll remind you, Philadelphia, where he was living, is a sanctuary city. How do you think it got that way? How do you think it became a sanctuary city? I'll tell you exactly how. People like him voted for city council members who would push sanctuary city policies. That's how it happened. Those candidates are here in the city of Houston. They're running, and I guarantee you some of those voters are here. If you listen to KTRH News at all, if you read the articles that we put out over there at KTRH News, you've heard about some of the cases of non-residents, non-citizens voting here in the city of Houston. Those voters make a difference. It has happened. It will continue to happen unless something is done about it. Regardless of what the radical left says, we do need the SAVE Act. And for my listeners in Dallas and San Antonio, I guarantee you it's happening over there too. I guarantee it. All right, we'll be right back in just a second. All right, let's keep talking about this for a minute. This election integrity, voter ID, the SAVE Act. Again, it's worth pointing out how popular this actually is. Most people understand that the SAVE Act, voter ID at some level is fairly common sense. All right, we understand that we live in a society where being able to identify yourself is important. It's necessary. It just is. And we know this because, as this clip I'm about to play you points out, you have to do that for every other part of your day-to-day life. Here is John Barrasso, right outside the Senate floor, talking about how the fact that, you know, if you want to go buy a beer, if you want to go fly on a plane, if you want to do whatever, you have to identify yourself. Now, you can have your opinions about whether or not that's actually necessary, but the reality is, if for no other reason than for just common sense consistency, we should have some form of voter ID. It does not make sense for you to say you have to show ID to buy a beer or to carry a firearm or whatever, but not to vote. It just doesn't. You can't make that make sense. Why is that different? Why? Explain yourself. Why is it different? Nobody can actually explain that. Here is John Barrasso talking about this outside the Senate.
10 million illegal immigrants flooded into our country while Joe Biden was president and the Democrats were in charge in the United States Senate and House. And now the Democrats want those same illegal immigrants to have an impact on the elections in the United States. I believe only citizens of the United States should be allowed to vote in American elections, and I believe you should have to present a photo identification card in order to vote. It's common sense. You need to present a photo ID to buy a beer, to board a plane, and to do so many other things that are part of American life. Why not to vote? And the great number of American people agree completely with this, that you should have to have a photo ID and be a citizen in order to vote. The Save America Act is the best way to secure and safely provide elections that represent the viewpoints of the American people. And yet the Democrats in this chamber are going to come to the floor, and each and every one of them is going to stand with the far left, the extreme members of their party, who oppose voter identification with a photo ID. We're going to put every one of them on the record so that everyone in America knows that Republicans support voter ID and Democrats are the party of open borders and illegal voters.
Now, it is worth shaming the Republican caucus a little bit here, because why haven't you done that yet? Go for it. Put everyone on record right now. Everyone, every single one of them, have a vote. Let's see right now who is going to support the SAVE Act and who's going to block it. They won't do that. I don't know why. We still haven't had a final vote on it. It doesn't make any sense, but we should. Now, I am well aware that we probably can't pass this right now. If we have a final vote on it right now, it will probably fail. I'm fine with that. We should have the final vote anyway. That way we at least have people on record. But there is something very important that John Barrasso said there that I want to kind of highlight for a minute. We need to have a government that represents the views of American citizens. Not just residents of the country, American citizens. That's important. Again, I'll point you back to that case we talked about in earlier in the show. This illegal alien who's been voting since 2008 in our elections. Who do you think he's voting for? Think about that. And once again, I'll use this special election in District C as an example. Here in the city of Houston, our city council District C, here's one of the candidates that's running for city council right now. His name is Joe something or other. I actually don't know his last name. It's just Joe. Everything is Joe. Joe for Houston. He's got a last name. It's something I can't pronounce. But here's who this guy is. He's going out and he's touting his Planned Parenthood endorsement. Well, how does Planned Parenthood affect the city of Houston? Why does that matter here? You're running for city council. Abortion, generally speaking, I know there's some rare exceptions. There are still some sneaky go-about ways to get abortion in the state of Texas. But by and large, you can't get an abortion in this state. So what does Planned Parenthood have to do with being on the city council? Why is that the endorsement you're touting? Who cares? Moreover, here's the policies this guy's actually pushing. He tweeted this out. Our worst suspicions are very real. We need leadership who will speak out against this and do everything in their power to stop HPD's cooperation with ICE. This is in response to a Houston Chronicle article about Houston police in at least 2 instances have arrested drivers and transported them to immigration agents. And he says this is a terrible, bad thing. This is his whole identity, by the way. Like, half the content on his X page is him complaining about ICE and immigration enforcement. You are a city official. You have no capacity to affect immigration policy as a city official other than making the city a sanctuary city. And yet that's what he's pushing. All the time on his X page, constantly. Who do you think the people like Sacco Scorpion that we talked about earlier in the show, who do you think those people are going to vote for? They're going to vote for this guy. And like I pointed out, this is a very small turnout election. His vote actually really matters here. This makes a difference. And again, there are people like this in every single election across the state. Just to really bring this home. Here is a video he put out talking about how terrible it is that we're enforcing immigration policy here in the city of Houston, or we're allowing immigration policy to be enforced here. Because again, the city really isn't doing anything here. This is a federal issue. This is federal law being enforced by federal agents in a place where they have federal jurisdiction. But here he is complaining about it. Take a listen.
The New York Times published a map of deportations across the entire United States. Houston led the nation with 9,300 arrests led by ICE. That is unacceptable. While the city cannot change federal immigration laws, we can challenge them. As your council member, I will champion and support legal advocacy to stand up to Trump's deportation machine. I will work with advocates and community leaders to make the promise of sanctuary cities a reality by bringing forward an ordinance to protect residents from ICE enforcement in local facilities. I will ensure city departments do not act as immigration enforcement agents when Houstonians are seeking help, and support policies that safeguard access to housing, healthcare, and education for immigrant families.
All right, take note of that real quick. Policies that support access to housing and healthcare for our immigrant families. So what he's saying here is, I on city council am going to push for 2 things. 1, I am going to push for the city as a political entity to resist federal immigration enforcement. And 2, I am going to push for the city to give handouts for illegal aliens. That's what his concerns are as a candidate for the Houston City Council. And people who are not citizens are going to vote for him. I guarantee it. I guarantee you that there are people who are not citizens, who are not caught yet, who have managed to register to vote here in the city of Houston, that are going to go and vote for this guy. And we've seen this happen in other states, in other cities, and we will continue to see it without something like the SAVE Act. Now, thankfully, I believe in recent years, the state has done a good job of cracking down on this. Texas has done a good job of eliminating this, but even this year, we're still finding cases in Houston of it happening. Something has got to be done. You can say, oh, this is already illegal as much as you want, but if the laws aren't actually being enforced, if those laws don't actually have teeth, it doesn't really matter. And that's where we're at right now with voter ID. All right, that's just the reality. Listen, there is a lot that I wish I could have talked about today that I didn't get the chance to. We only have an hour here on Sunday evenings, so I want to encourage you to check out the Wednesday show. That's a podcast. We air it on KPRC oftentimes. You can find it on my X page @Ethan Buchanan, BUCHANAN. If you enjoyed what you heard tonight, check me out there. There will be a whole lot more. Thank you very much for listening to the Next Gen Report. It is a pleasure to be here with you every opportunity I get. So I appreciate it, and we'll see you Wednesday.